Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Elevating Your Life. And we are going to really be elevated today. This is going to be so fantastic. We have with us today Luke Layman. He is a decorated fighter pilot. So awesome. Serial entrepreneur, investor, and transformational coach. His wisdoms, his words are just going to be so tremendous. First off, welcome. I'm so thrilled to have you on the show.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be here. I'm excited to join you for the next little bit.
I love it, Luke. I love it. It's just so awesome who we connect with that, just makes it so great. Well, I'd love you to share a bit of your background and kind of what brought you to where you're at this moment.
That's funny. My brother once accused me of being a recovering fighter pilot, and I think it's kind of apropos at this point. It's a little bit funny. It seems like this point that the amount of time has gone past since I flew airplanes is equally as much. So you got it correct. The first piece of my career, I was an Air Force fighter pilot. I flew the A-10 Warthog for about 10 years. Then I've been an entrepreneur since then with multiple business ventures. But probably most importantly, just like everybody else, is I'm a dad of a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old that keep me on my toes. Most minutes of every day.
Yes, I love it. And yeah, being a parent, I've always said that's my most important job. And to my kids,
Absolutely.
even though I have grandkids now too, I'm your mom. I can kiss you forever.
That's right.
Oh gosh. Well, tell us what got you into being a coach for others. And I'd love to talk about some of the things you've talked about, such as team, teamwork and how you put all that together.
Sure. Well, let's explore it a little bit there, and I'll just open up a couple of concepts, and we can go with it where it may. But coaching first and foremost, I've always enjoyed being a coach, and really, my wife actually kind of used to reprimand me a little bit. She was like, "Can't you just not coach? We'd be playing a video game or something." She's like, "Can't you just let me mess it up?" I truly enjoy and find success in the success of others. So it's nice to be able to, to reap the benefits of having some positivity and growth and for yourself. But really the thing that gives me a lot of energy is seeing that success in other people. So that's really first and foremost. And I wish I could do it, more, but running a business and being a dad certainly takes a lot of my time and energy. But I still enjoy a lot of that and making time for that. In that component of that, you were asking the question about team building. I really think about team building now as a function of how do you build teams in a for-profit business. Now, it can apply to a nonprofit or any team for that matter, but building team members specifically in the entrepreneurial world for how do you build high productivity, high alignment inside teams that are going to, go and generate a lot of impact on the world. So, one of the things, and we kind of just talked about it a little bit before we got on here, we talk about the 4 stages of team dynamics and team growth. And it's interesting once you become aware of these stages, how quickly you can see them. But the stages are forming, storming, norming, and performing. And the forming is very easy. That's when you put 3, 4, 5, some number of people together into a group and you give them a shared mission. And you say, we want you to go attack this problem or solve this area of interest, whatever it is. And the stages of forming, the things that we would notice about that is there's a lot of pleasantries. Folks show up, they're on time, they're really kind of guarded with their communication. They contribute just a little bit, but they really don't challenge any of the status quo. And then we get into storming. Storming is characterized by just that. There's little micro arguments. People begin to show their opinions and their personalities. And as they move forward, they think about things that are going to challenge the problem set. And it actually is where the true growth happens in a team. We then move from forming, storming to norming. And norming is when that same group of people then get into a steady state environment where they know each other's idiosyncrasies and they're able to work together without challenging the person and only challenging the idea. And then we get into the performing phase. And performing phase is seen very, very rarely in this world. Those are like high productivity engineering teams where you've got engineers that have been together for 15 years. Those are naval, Navy SEAL teams that are getting ready to go to a deployment. Those are fighter squadrons getting ready to go to a deployment that came from our world. Those are NFL teams or Major League Baseball teams that are going to prepare for their pinnacle event. But here's the kicker about all that, Paula, and we kind of explore a lot of these concepts, is that every single time that you add a new personality, new person, new team member, you always revert back to forming. You got to go through the cycle again. And it's so predictable now. As I build teams, I go, hey, it's coming. And everybody's like, no, Luke, we're not going to do it this time. We're going to all be pleasantry. And then 2 weeks later, some little skirmish comes up and I'm like, I told you, but this is great because this is where growth is happening on our team.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of a building and coming together with that new person. Then everybody has to kind of just feel them out and that person feel them. And then they make that connection and then move on. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with comfort, and a lot of folks come to a team, a new team with guarded, great examples in the restaurant industry, like, when you get a new wait staff, the waiter's going to come in there, they're going to be pleasant, they're going to have a lot of smile on their face, and that will last a couple of weeks. But at some point, they're going to have a bad day, they're going to have slept poorly, they're going to have some challenges, and they're going to bring those into their work environment, and it seems tumultuous. It seems like there's confrontation, but that's actually where the real growth is happening, because we're getting to know the new team member and we're going to see both their vulnerabilities as well as the strengths that they're bringing to the team as well.
That is so true. And I know something that I always talked about with my staff at my restaurant was, this table may be your customers today, but they may be my customers tomorrow, but really they're our customers. So the mindset is all through the restaurant. We are a team working together to satisfy and do a good job for our customers. And it was really amazing seeing how that mindset worked, to where
Absolutely.
we opened it up into, this is our whole restaurant. It's not just my table, that I'm taking care of. And it really, I really loved that.
And if you can drive that sense of ownership inside those team members, it really does make it the overall cohesiveness and the effectiveness of the team drive so much further.
Oh, it does. It does. I've always believed in whatever you do with a team, that if you're working together for the goal, that any accomplishment anywhere, everyone can celebrate, because you're all working for that together.
That's right.
Wow. Wow. And something else that you've said, Luke, that I absolutely love is create habits, not goals. Oh my gosh, because so much of what we hear every day is have this goal, create this goal. But really, habits is everything. It really is. Tell us what you mean by that, what that expression is for you.
Well, first off, let me not false advertise. I'm a big goal setter. Matter of fact, I'm almost hyper religious about goal setting. My goal setting begins with a very morbid mentality. I actually write my own obituary. I'm going to save the eulogist the effort, and I'm going to write the day that I die, all the things that I wanted to have accomplished in my life. And it makes it very easy because it sets the priorities for me. I don't want my eulogist to say, you know what, Luke perfected 65-hour work weeks. I don't even care that my eulogist is going to say the dollar value of the businesses that I grew, the number of employees that I had. That's not the legacy that I want to leave. So for me, goal setting begins with the end in mind, and then it begins to set the trajectories. So, for me, I set my 10-year goal, 5-year goal, 3-year goals, but what really gets measurable is the 1-year goals and then down into the quarterly goals. So when I set an objective for myself, what I measure is I measure the things that I can do in 12 weeks. There's this, Paula, this concept that a year is the unit of measure that we should use is just archaic. Just because the IRS says that we should measure it on a 1-year cycle doesn't mean that I need to. I believe that people grossly overestimate what they can do in one day, and they grossly underestimate what they can do in 1 quarter or 1 year. So for me, habits, and this is what it truly comes down to. And this is, about goal setting is I believe that there's two things about goals that are important. It sets your playing field, and it begins to move you in that direction. So it sets your vector. So the playing field and the vector. And here's a good analogy. A lot of people set goals around weight loss or living a healthier lifestyle or growing a business or being a better spouse. But here's what I would say about that. It's easy when you use the counterpoint. If I were to set the goal of I want to become a triathlete. Some people view that as this hard goal. I can never be a triathlete. Well, let me give you the argument on the other side. If I were to say that I want to be 300 pounds, do you believe that I could get there? Right? I may not get all the way to 300 pounds, but 8 months later, after a cheeseburger and French fries every day, I'll probably be 260 pounds and so lethargic that I can't get off the couch. Right? I moved in that direction and I set my playing field.
Yes.
But habits, and this is where I believe that, this is where it truly comes down to it. Everything has a first step. So for me, when I go to do a goal, I break it down into things that I can do every day. Let's use the analogy of being a triathlete. I may not be able to go run a half marathon or swim or to ride a bike, but I tell you what I can do today. I can put my tennis shoes on. And if I put my tennis shoes on every morning before I drink my first cup of coffee, eventually that tennis shoes are going to turn into a walk to the mailbox or a walk to the end of the street. And then maybe I run a mile, and then maybe I run 3 miles. So those habits become things that we're able to replicate. And it's so easy for me to put my tennis shoes on every morning that eventually it's going to also be so easy for me to go run a mile as well.
Yes, I love that. And you know what I've always loved about creating habits? And that's so true. Here's our goal. But I see it as these habits can help us get there. But what's so wonderful about creating a habit of something we're striving to do is after a while, we really don't have to, quote, make ourselves do it because it's become a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
I just,
I think they
love
say it
that.
takes 63, I believe. And I love every time somebody says a number, and then I just respond with 86% of all statistics are made up. But it takes 63 times of doing a habit before it becomes part of your subconscious identity. And it's like cigarette smoking. I identify my identity as that of a non-smoker. But if I smoked 63 cigarettes, I may very well be able to shift my identity into that of a smoker. It's just the same on the other side. It's as easy for me to say that I'm going to be physically fit. It's easy for me to say that I'm going to be present because that's my identity. And I shift my identity first, my way of being, before I then try to solve in my external environment.
I love that. I love that. So, Luke, where would you say, with someone trying to focus on their business, their building, their goals, where clarity and decision come in? What advice do you have on that?
Clarity is so extremely important. It's interesting that we follow that discussion with our discussion about goals and objective setting. Is a lot of times we don't know where we're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you're sure to get there. And that's one of one of the greatest things. I made an analogy the other day that said a ship with no sail is worse than a ship with no rudder. As long as you know where you're going and you have clarity, you're going to set the playing field and you're going to begin to move on that vector and in that trajectory. So clarity is extremely important. And there's some just, great books. There's the Simon Sinek, Start with Why and then Find Your Why is a great example of a book like that. But in business and in life, if we know where we're going, we can begin to move ourselves in that direction. So that's the biggest thing about clarity. And then, commitment kind of as a follow-up that, and decisions is another follow-up to that. I do, and I would make the recommendation to any other high performer is to have an understanding that you are 100% committed to whatever you're committed to. So if you're committed to grabbing a bag of cookies in the afternoon, you're committed to the identity of being a snacker, and that's fine. But for a business owner, we have to think about the things that we're committed to. So for me, I'm committed to having a high productivity, high value company. And when I make the decisions in my day, I make things that are high value decisions. So for me, it's very simple. I ask myself three things. Number one, am I the only person that can do this task? If I can, if I am, if the answer is yes, then I'll do it. Number two, if I do this task, is going to add near term revenue in the next 1 to 3 months. And then I ask myself again, if I do this task, is it going to add strategic value to my business in the next 12 to 36 months? Now, if I can't answer yes to one of those questions, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to do it. It just means that I realize and I accept that that thing that I'm going to do is not the best use of my time.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What would you say to someone who has a goal of what they want to achieve with their business, and they have some ideas of how to do it, but they're really totally not sure? What can they do for themselves, for the confidence and taking a step, even though they don't know exactly how they're going to do it? What do you
YouTube,
do when you're at that phase? Yeah,
YouTube it.
YouTube it.
There's just
Yeah.
we're in an information era now, Paula. We went from industrial age, and then there was the internet revolution, and now we're in an information era where it is so easy to get your hand. And I'm not advocating for not paying for it, but don't get me started on the formal university system. That's a whole different story. But finding a good coach and finding a good mentor is a great step. And I have 3 coaches right now, and usually 2 or 3 at any given point, because I'll get to your point. I promise, Paul. It's like a judge and jury here. For me, it's I bring people into my life. They're going to fill a specific gap for a specific period. So I want to find someone who's walked the road before me, and it can grab me by the hand and carry me on the journey. And sometimes people can do that for free. You can do that information gathering. I pay for it. I want to value and honor their time. That's part of my identity as well. But to answer your question there, the gurus will tell you to take massive action. And that to me is the most unsustainable. You can't take massive action every day. We have to rest. So for me, the answer is taking imperfect, consistent action. So anything that we do on a daily basis, continually, what I look for is a cycle of action, impact, result, and feedback. I'm going to put the action in. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to determine what impact it has, what result I got from that impact. And then it's a constant feedback loop. So when you break it down, I'm only ever trying to solve for one thing. And that one thing is the next step that's going to have the most impact to getting to steps 2 and 3 and 4. But for me, it's just imperfect, consistent action.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That makes me think of the restaurant when I made the step to buy it after managing it. And I had people say, "You're going to be the owner." And it was like, can I do this? But it was like, I know this is how it works. I know this needs to be done. And I just did those simple steps and was very successful. But sometimes it can be scary going for a high goal, can't it?
Yeah. And you kind of brought something up there. There's the fear. We all have fear, right? There's certainly fear. When I was flying airplanes and hurling myself at the ground at 400 miles per hour, there's some fear associated with that. But in business ownership specifically, there's some fear, and a lot of that fear is it's fear of judgment for sure, right? Can I do it? What will other people think of me when I fail? But what if you realize this? You're not going to fail. You're not going to fail. Even if you didn't get the desired outcome, it's not a failure. It's just feedback. It's just a lesson along the way. And there's something I love this concept. I talk about it all the time. Comma yet is I have not been a business owner yet. I've never bought a restaurant yet. I've never led a team of 12 people yet. And if you think back to something that we all have them. We have these reaffirming experiences in our life that tell you, at one point I couldn't ride a bike
Mhm.
yet, but now I can ride a bike with my hands off. It's easy. I can ride a bike and talk on my cell phone down a busy street with no hands on the bike, right? And there's no difference in where you are at 20, 30, 40, 50 years old than when you were learning to bike.
Mhm.
At some point I couldn't do calculus either. I actually may not be that great at calculus now, but now I can use an Excel document that gets me through it.
That is such a powerful statement, Luke, comma yet. When you look at it that way, yes, I haven't done that. I haven't done it yet. That says I can do it. I can accomplish. That is so powerful. That is such a beautiful statement. I love that. I'm going to think about that a lot.
I think what's the most
Oh,
empowering about that, Paul, is it takes any negative statement and turns it into a positive statement. It
mhm.
gives you it
It
gives you the
does.
power and the courage to say, I can't climb that mountain. I
Yeah.
can't run a mile yet. And
Yet.
you now place value on the future of something that you just have not yet accomplished, but you will accomplish.
Luke, that is just beautiful. That just brings a tear to my eyes. That is such a beautiful piece of wisdom to give others, because that's so true. I know when I was asked over 6 years ago to start interviewing people on a radio show, and I was like, I can't do that. Oh my gosh, everybody's going to think I'm a weirdo. And then I thought, no, I'm just going to be me. And here I am, loving it.
And then 6 years later, you're riding the
Yeah,
bike down the street with your hands off and it's just easy.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Haven't done it yet. Oh my gosh, that is powerful. Well, for the big business owners out there and entrepreneurs, what would you say is one of the top pieces of advice that you give, basic advice?
Well, if we were sitting down, and it really depends on where business owners are in their lives, but business and specifically small business. I'm not a corporate America guy. That's just
Mhm.
not what kind of business that I've ever been in. Business isn't hard. It's just the free exchange of goods and service between a willing buyer and a willing seller. We do business all day, every day. You and I right now are freely giving of our time and energy to each other. It's just business. It's just an exchange.
Yes.
Business doesn't have an opinion about how hard or easy it is. The environment doesn't have an opinion about it. The only thing that matters is the way that we perceive that and the beliefs that we hold around it. And then from those beliefs are the stories that we create around that. So if I tell myself that it's going to be hard to open a restaurant, that's going to be hard. I'm going to have to hire people. I'm going to have to buy cans of food, chefs, create meals. And I create this belief that it's going to be hard, then I begin to tell myself the story around how hard it is. Well, I just choose the other way. If it's just the story, I'm just going to pick a story that serves me and I'll start telling the story. So instead of saying that business is hard, I say that there's challenges associated with business, but I'm adding immense value into the world and I expect to be compensated in return for that. And then the story that I tell myself is it's not hard. Matter of fact, it's easy. And it's easy because I'm just going to sequentially move through my day and have the most impact that I can have on my environment. So that's really it. It's just easy. And if you can just let it be easy,
Yeah.
just take it down into a piece that you can do,
That is
believe in it,
so true.
and
Yeah,
then pick it
because
forward.
what we tell ourselves and what we put in here is what we're going to feel and what we're going to result.
I know that you'll appreciate this one, Paula, is that we should on ourselves. We should on everything, right? We should do this. We should do
Mhm.
that. We should everything. And we should on ourselves all day. You can let it go. Yeah, I know that you could have, but you shouldn't have. You already made that choice yesterday. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Now, all
Yep.
we're going to do is we're going to make the most impact that we can have today.
And I am trying. I am awesome. I am taking steps. Oh my gosh, what that does. Oh my gosh. Well, Luke, in our last few minutes, will you share your website information, anything you'd like to give the audience, and what last words you want to leave with everyone today? This has been so great.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's just a great conversation. I was looking
You're
forward to this
welcome.
all week. I'm very easy to find, lukelayman.com, LukeLayman.com. And then from there, you can go to wherever you want. So if you want to go to Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, I'm not active on Twitter, but it'll have links to all those things. Here's what I would tell you. I love conversations with entrepreneurs, specifically parents, folks that are trying to be a balance of being a husband or a wife or a parent to young children and also being a business owner. But the last piece I would say is just create your tribe, create your community. There's a saying that you are the sum of the five loudest voices in your head. Be specific about who you're letting in your head and pick the tribe. Your high school friends probably aren't advocating for your success, but I am, because I believe that, a rising tide floats all boats. So pick your tribe, pick your surroundings. And, once you get your team around you, it's all easy.
Love that. That is just beautiful. Oh my gosh, Luke. Oh, and I have to say, thank you so much for all you do for others, because I can only imagine how many, you know, entrepreneurs and business owners that you have helped succeed and, create things in their lives. And I have to say thank you for mentioning that when, you've got the challenge of a business, but you've got your family and it's a balance thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's I am so grateful for all that you're doing for others, and this has been some beautiful wisdom.
Well,
Gosh.
thanks for having me, Paul. It's been a great
Yeah.
conversation, and I look forward to, hearing from your listeners and engaging with them.
Yes, yes. This has been really great. And if down the road you'd like to get together again, I am here for you because
Great.
I know
Yeah.
you have a lot more awesomeness to share with us, Luke.
Happy to do so.
Oh, well, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Love, hugs, and blessings. Luke, love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paula.